Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
With the guitar. I'm totally there. So welcome everyone. This is a special chit chat edition. We've got our regular audience out, a couple thousand coming in on Rumble. And I thought we can go ahead and get on YouTube too and have like a chit chat. I mean, there's so much to talk about and I don't know which way we want to go. And of course, I'm going to bring my friend so we can have a discussion. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. And we're going to talk about a lot of things. As you guys all saw, obviously, I've been extremely busy, with my campaign. Everything that I expected happened. Actually, I was quite happy that he went against the Board of Elections that certified me, because now I've got a rocket docket straight to SCOTUS. So I am really, really excited. Sometimes it's through adversity and through failing, as one would say, you fail. It's not really a failure. It's a battle. It's the war that counts. That we can extrapolate truth, transparency, and everything. So I've got one of the people that I completely love. A lot of people are like, whatever. I absolutely adore this person, challenges my mind every single time. And yeah, a lot of people, have things to say. I really, you guys know how I feel about that. I really don't. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody can speak for my friends. So I want to welcome, hey, Patrick.
Hello, Tori. I'm still getting this. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Fix
In,
it.
va-
I'll-
in vaudeville, they call that vamping till Ray. You were just vamping till Ray.
Well, I wasn't. I was today. I just got news that the Secretary of State went against the Board of Elections and decertified me, which was exactly what I wanted to happen. Because now I get to go, hey, now I get, my whole campaign team was like, nah, man, you need to be on. I was like, what? I get free campaign material here exposing the deep state. Are you kidding me? This is like
Didn't I see that they said out of like 5,010 signatures, they should disallow 5,011, they need to disallow 18?
17.
So that would bring you to 4,994?
93. So the funny thing is that those were the numbers before he actually counted all the certified counties. And when we said that in this kangaroo court hearing, the judge, which is weird, I'm independent. So if the Ohio GOP is doing this, obviously, wouldn't it have to be a Democrat judge to be nonpartisan? But instead, they gave me a Republican judge who his son is actually defending LaRose in this BS redistricting thing. And is
a Democrat judge would have loved you to stay in, hoping it would split the Republicans.
That's what but see, that's the thing. Why do people keep saying that? I'm not splitting it. I'm taking them all. Nobody wants him. Have you seen his approval rating? It's like -50. Nobody wants him.
Who's in specific?
Frank LaRose.
Oh.
He's the one that led the whole ALEC thing that we're having a problem with the machines. He set it up for the whole nation. He was in charge of that.
Listen, there's a lot of hands and a lot of fingerprints on that, I bet.
Yeah.
Hey, we have such good news.
Yes, please go.
No, you go.
No, for me, I don't have anything. I'm breaking this J6 stuff. That's why I'm traveling next week.
Tell me what can you have you broken it to your audience? Where's your audience in the J6 story?
In the J6 stuff, they're just not buying it. We're supposed to have a season 2, right? And we went through Bergie's BS because today I broke the story and now it's changing the story narrative. That Russian lady or Ukrainian they said was at Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, I do remember hearing about it.
Okay, well, you know what's so dumb? The same people that did the raid thing were the same people that did the Russia hoax. And guess what? That chick was connected with Natalia that was at the Trump Tower meeting in 2016. With the whole Russian, adoption agency thing. And it's like, are you kidding? This got foreign interference all over it. And the FBI was allowing her. Our State Department gave her a passport. Florida Department of Motor Vehicles gave her an ID. And Rothschild wasn't an identity. It's the actual name of her business. It's called Rothschild Media. And so I'm watching for a whole week, Patrick, because I'm like busy with this J6 stuff, right? Working on that defense side. I've got my campaign stuff going on. I mean, and it's like, where are all these journalists? They're just like talking about Nara. Nara was the excuse. They were like, look, he has Russians and he has all these documents. Therefore, he's a problem. There we go with the Russia thing again. But anyway.
I don't know if there's get the warrant, they're supposed to be able to establish that there was a crime of which he committed probable cause. Correct. I don't know if there's one person in the country that cannot be accused of NARA. I would imagine it would be the President of the United States. If you're talking about a set of documents that he waved his hand over and said are declassified, he's the one guy in the United States that can't be charged for that crime, I would think.
Yeah, but they did it. It's like this is a banana republic. They're doing whatever they want.
Well, how could that magistrate judge have signed that search warrant? Because for the president to have committed that crime, he's the one guy who can't commit that crime. How did that judge sign that warrant?
Well, I don't know. I mean, everything's banana republic. I mean, I want to refer back to, we have kangaroo courts, weird judges, right?
Did you know that judge recused himself? I think it was June 20th or something.
From the RICO case. Yeah. I'm working on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, from Trump's case again, the RICO case against.
Yeah,
and I know you're working. I know that you're a great help, and there are a lot of people who.
Well, I'm also very salty. I'm also very salty, and it's like I'm like brie cheese. You either like me or you don't, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind. Truth is truth.
No, because brie cheese, about 80% of people like. You're more like one of those obscure
Gorgonzola, Port Salut,
something like that. With a bit of port, you take a bit of port, it goes down just fine. No, I'd say anyway. Go ahead. Where were
I was
we?
just gonna say, I'm just you know, I haven't seen you in like a couple weeks. Like I'm getting withdrawals, because I haven't like actually physically seen you. Your hair looks amazing. You know, it's been a while.
I felt like I looked like a wino. I'm sorry, man.
No, you look great. It looks good. I like the hair. I really do. I really do. It looks good. But so tell me what you think on this J6 thing, because I saw Patrick Berge trying to sell his book and he put a bunch of lies in that affidavit. Like this guy's going away for perjury.
Like, I got to tell you something. Well, he's bipolar or something, but his so some journalist from Raw Deal.
Dude, Raw Story. Right. They're part of his group. That's the cell that he's been working with.
Well, let me tell you something. I only communicate in text with journalists, with a rare exception, and with anyway.
You shouldn't even answer. You should be like,
he said I didn't know anything about this affidavit. It got to me. This was just days ago. He started asking questions. I said, none of this sounds.
Yeah, it was all. I mean, the way they trash the general is just terrible. Your audio, Patrick, your audio. Is it just me, or can you hear me? Because I can't hear you. Okay. Can I hear you? You. Oh, he froze. Can you guys hear me? I just want to see the chat. Patrick, you're not coming in. Your audio's off. Yeah, no audio. See? No audio. What? Did you guys hear that? Is that like creepy talk? Are you guys hearing what I'm hearing, or is it just me? Patrick, you're not coming in. I don't know if you can hear me, but you're not coming in. We got some weird voice that came in too. It was just really weird. Yeah, no. I want to hear what you have to say. Log out and log back in. Log out and log back. There you go. Perfect. Okay. I heard you.
Was that me or you?
That was you. And I was getting some really strange audio. Like it sounded like Morse code, fax machines. I was just like kind of trying to listen and be like, what's going on? Anyway, now you have to start all over because none of us heard it. Nobody heard you.
Ask your question. J6 Berge, well, I'll tell you this. After the Raw Story guy, Jordan something, so he sent me the affidavit and I kind of stopped reading. I just skimmed after I got to the part. What?
When he tried to push his book in the first paragraph, like buy my book. Did you see it? It was in the first paragraph.
I didn't notice that because I skimmed it so lightly because I got to, it said something about me being on January 12th, being at the Willard Hotel with Garrett Ziegler.
That's not true.
Say again?
That wasn't true. And he said that you met with Rudy that day, and you know that you and me met with the mayor together. That wasn't true.
Wasn't true. I left on the Friday afternoon or Saturday morning after January 6th, whatever day, like the 8th or 9th. And I called Garrett and I texted him and said, have I ever been in the Willard Hotel with you? I guess we had a quick, he said, we crossed paths there and I think I understand this, like crossed paths there and walked for a few steps or caught up a little bit. And we crossed Patrick Berge, and that's where he's getting this. And then I also understand, except I didn't even read this far in the, but so I just dismissed the affidavit once he got so much backwards from the beginning. I've never been in the Willard with Garrett other than we evidently intersected on the hallway.
Everybody was at the Willard. Everyone was at the Willard. Patrick, it's like he could have named anybody and we would have been there. Let's be straight. Right? Is that true or not? You left when I left. I left on Friday. You left on Friday, the 8th.
Yeah. So it's all fantasy. Whatever comes after that point in the affidavit is fantasy. I got to tell you, I'm a busy man. I didn't even read any further. But what I understand from other people who says that he knows this, that Rudy told me not really in January 2022. And is when, remember,
we met together. We met together. I was there. Remember?
I remember.
Yeah.
And I stepped out on the porch with Rudy for a while alone.
Yes.
Were you there for the part of the conversation I described?
I was there for all of it. I was hanging out with Maria. But again, it doesn't matter. No one's talking to Bergie.
But did you hear him on the porch with me when we sat outside? And
you guys were talking about normal stuff. He didn't say anything like.
To me, when we visited him at lunch, he told me in January 2022, that's when he told me, you know what happened, Pat? I talked the president out of it within 2 or 3 minutes of you and Sydney and Mike leaving the room. I had talked by the time, I think he said that by the time, like in the book, it says you were out on the sidewalk in the snow and you looked and I said, yeah, where I saw you and Mark Rennes. He's like, yeah, we left just that much after you. I had already talked the president out of it.
It's because of Cipollone. We all know how it went. And Cipollone was right in a sense, because on the legal basis, I mean, we can all disagree. But you know what I was shocked about is that all these people like him or other people talk about you or the general or the mayor as if they know them. And as if they were there for the conversations.
Yeah. And, I go back and debrief with Patrick Bergie.
I'm just saying it was so bizarre because I was like, who are these people telling people who they are when they don't know them?
Have you shared then with your audience my story and what I say happened? And Rudy said this in January 20, and then Bergie is saying
no, it's none of anybody's business. What we had is a private conversation.
Right? Yeah, well, it wasn't until Bergie came out with this. So Bergie's coming out and saying that actually he knows that I'm lying, and that I was told that when I walked out of the Willard with Garrett Ziegler on January 12th, he saw us together, and I had just been told by Rudy that's what really happened back. And so he's saying that, and he knew that from a frown on my face, and he knew that. So the whole thing's cuckoo.
And it's really dumb because back then you were wearing your gaiter, so no one would see your frown because you just didn't want people knowing who you are when you were walking
You're
around.
A smart cookie. You were. I was always wearing.
I know.
Either V for Vendetta or an American flag, depending on the audience.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I got you the scarf, because you just kept wearing the same thing over and over again for your birthday, because it was like, you need to get rid of those. It's like constant. You were recycling them. But, it was really, we're at this point where the media is just causing so much disruption, allowing people that, to just say whatever they want. This guy literally perjured himself.
Yeah. Well, like he said, it's so kooky that I only read maybe what looked like about, I don't know, I skimmed the first half a page and realized it was cuckoo and completely wrong. I flew, as is described in my book, I flew on Friday, the 8th.
Yeah, I did too. We texted because I told you that I was going because I had like that case that I had to go for.
That's right. I got to Utah and I stayed in one home for a couple of days, didn't go to my home because I was getting sick and someone was taking care of me. And then
yeah, I know.
that turned out to be COVID, and I was out for 10 days. So I wasn't around on it. I was going through COVID back in Utah, and there's lots of hospital records and doctor records and stuff to show that. So it's all silly from the opening few lines.
Yeah, we've got a couple thousand on Rumble too watching. I just wanted to tell you because I went to YouTube and Facebook since I didn't play music, and they usually don't ban me when I'm just having a conversation. So I see that there's a lot happening. There's a lot of panic. With these election machines. I know Carrie Lake's case was thrown out, but they're going now to the Supreme Court in Arizona, and it was anticipated. We're all going to get to SCOTUS in the end. Like, I'm going to SCOTUS. You give me a week, I'm going to be there.
You know what this is like? Yeah, it takes a network to defeat a network. You know what this is like? Hey, I think SCOTUS might be pretty pissed off because they at least 6 of the 9 at least profess an adherence to the Constitution, whereas the other 3 sort of profess some theory. I don't know. It's sort of loosely sort of bowing to it rather than actually reading it. But I think that now you salt that with they've just had a bunch of people, protesting outside their homes and stuff.
It was the same people that we had on the Zoom calls. They were organizing it and paying people. On Twitter. Yeah. Twitter let them organize.
Fithian? What the hell's her name? Fithian?
Well, no, it was actually Marie Stefan, the lady from the DOD.
Marie Stefan was organizing the protest outside the.
It will all her groups. She wasn't the one organizing it. It's her groups, right? She's the one that we had. Everybody keeps talking about Lisa Fithian, and I'm like, so we're not going to talk about Maria Stefan, who was besties with Esper and worked at the DOD and is part of the Peace Institute. Are we kidding now? Or the lady that wrote the OSHA mandate was on that federal call, right? That Stephanie Starlet, whatever her name is, started.
She wrote the OSHA. Didn't I hear? Did she become the general counsel of like the Department of Labor or something?
Yeah, she was the general counsel of the Department of Labor when she was calling for the federal coup in October of 2020. And this is where we are. We're in a mad place because, we're so busy talking crap about each other rather than focusing on the prize. And right now our prize is getting to SCOTUS because, isn't that the case?
They're coming at us in an information war, all guns, all newspapers blaring, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what? It doesn't. It's funny. It doesn't.
Our side sucks too.
What does?
Our side sucks too. It's all wishy-washy stuff too. It's like, can we get a little bit more teeth into it? Can we all focus?
We're putting some teeth into it this week. Some teeth are going into it from us. Hey, do you know about what's going on with Mike Lindell? What he's doing?
I was on the call with him yesterday. See, that's the same. We're on the same page because, I put out a call to action for everyone to send in, spoilage letters for them to retain information. But I added also the DHS contracts, the contractors. And for them, it's more, I'm thinking about a case. I sent it to all my counties in Ohio to tell them, hey, you better hold on to this, the retention letter, like a legal retention letter, because I'm suing. And this is exactly what I'm doing. And, the Secretary of State here, listen to this. Let me just tell you something funny and you'll get this. 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night, I shoot off an email myself, not my lawyers, me. Right. And I'm like, yo, my campaign came to you and asked you for this information and you knew them by name. We cited, Civil Rule 34D, right? Which is when we're in litigation, you give me stuff, right? And you said, oh, we have so many open records requests, you're in the queue. So I shut off an email and I said, what are you doing? I've already asserted my rights under this civil rule, and you're treating it like this. And I put out what happened. I'm just noting this and I'm sending an email to confirm that this happened. Guess who emailed me in the morning, crack of dawn?
Who?
The Attorney General of Ohio.
Really?
Yeah. So what that means that they're all colluding with each other. Having conversations, because how does an email that I send to some poxy for the Secretary of State while we're in litigation, go to the top of the deck for him to give an opinion? That's a big deal, you see? And I did it myself and I was like, oh, sorry, I'm not a lawyer, but it's great to know that the Attorney General, that my tax dollars are hard at work, when this is happening, but when the citizen rights are violated, you're not really doing much. So that was pretty interesting. That came in this morning and I was like, what? Stop it. Yeah, sometimes if you set a fire irrationally, you get some really good responses and insight. So tell me what you guys are doing. I know what Mike is doing in Arizona. I know about the letters that they're sending out and all these lawsuits. I think Alabama was doing something today, right?
He has not. Has he announced what he's doing yet or not? I think it drops tomorrow, so we probably shouldn't.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't talk about it. Well, I already did that before him, because we're doing it. Kind of everyone's doing the same thing.
So it's okay to talk about.
Well, I don't know if we could talk about his stuff. I mean, my stuff is kind of parallel to his, so I'm
not going to talk. Then I'll leave his stuff alone. Other than to say, Mike has a very smart
group
wave of lawsuits coming.
Yep.
Or set of lawsuits coming. Very smart.
Yes.
We have a much smaller number. But a very sharp lawsuits based on a theory that Tori Meres shared with me on November 10th, 2020. In other words, a week after the election. And now don't say the theory, but a week after the election, she shared with me stuff. And that has turned out to all finally really checked out. So thank you, Tori.
Seth told me that too. He was like, I'm really sorry we didn't listen much. And it's like, it's okay. You have to always discern.
We listened.
I know.
There were a lot of things to check.
I know. I was a bad egg. I came from the bad camp, but that doesn't mean, some of us that are in the bad camp can always find redemption, right? But it's good.
Well,
hey,
came from the bad camp as part of it.
Well, yeah, but
we had that. No, you came from Yeah.
I was supposed to be founder.
Well, and I don't want you to say his name.
I know.
But if you remember who introduced us, don't say the name.
Yeah.
That's a real joker in the deck.
Oh my gosh, stop, because I have more on that. I can't wait for us to have dinner. Like I will come down to Florida at some point or wherever you are. We'll meet up because, oh my gosh, because I've actually had more conversations on that. But let's, keep that out. But you know what? It was meant to be like this, Patrick. I think all this confusion and this running around chasing our tails, because, what was really weird is I remember just sitting there telling people, guys, why are we just targeting Dominion? Look, their lawyer is the guy that literally ran the lawsuit for the Russia hoax. Like, you can't even make this up. He worked for Mueller and he just posed in a picture. But it's okay, because I think it was important that America could see just how bad it is. Sometimes it doesn't have to be that way.
It is kind of interesting when I turn on TV, which I rarely do these days because I can't stand it. But other than Tucker's essays and monologues are going to end up being like Orwell's in World War II. Orwell did 49 essays for the BBC in World War II and went on air and read them, and they were about the progress of the war, and they were magnificent. And I'd say that Tucker's monologues about the progress over the last several years are excellent. Other than that, I don't want you, but I was shocked at what he's saying. He's now saying, he's at least raising as a question, gosh, is it possible that they're doing this on purpose? Look, here's Europe, which has gotten in a war with Russia. Russia is doing better than ever. Here's Europe about to freeze to death, or they're coming into the things get colder starting in September. And who's winning? Their ruble's up to 7-year high. It's almost like they're destroying Western civilization on purpose, but it couldn't be that. Tucker's actually going that far. I didn't know anyone in the mainstream could get away with saying the truth like that.
Well, yeah. With the whole Russia thing, I mean, it's not going to escalate until Erdogan's comes super into focus. I mean, right now, the stuff that I was talking about with my audience in regards to Turkey and the S-400s in Greece and their S-300s and everything is now panning out. So it would definitely have to be that Erdogan is going to be, this is my assessment, that they're going to take him out. Because he's playing with fire with the Finns and the Nords.
Which of all the theirs you could mean, which there is that?
Well, who's going to take him
Russian
out?
there or
no,
or
I'm
American
talking
there?
Turkey. They're going to take Erdogan out.
The Russians are, or the Americans are?
No, the Europeans are.
The Europeans.
Yeah, well, they want to get Norway into NATO. All this stuff with Estonia is going on. It's just such a hot mess. Foreign policy right now is a hot mess. And it's like Putin was smart. The minute Trump left, he was like, whoop, I'm coming in and I'm taking all of this. I would do the same thing if I was him. Wouldn't you? I'd be like, I'm taking all of this over. What are you guys going to do? You're not going to do anything because you need my energy. Trump warned them, didn't he? And Nord Stream pipeline too. I mean, it's a hot mess. This was something that should have been dealt with in 2018, but I guess the Democrats get to wear that Trump's hat on this, right? So it's the foreign policy is bad, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to get really bad the minute we see Erdogan get taken out of the picture. And, everything is pointing that direction, especially when he's like, oh, you want to apply to NATO? Well, give me these criminals. And it's like, oh, you shouldn't be quid pro signing stuff.
Right. That's not like what NATO's about and what the EU is supposed to be about. And basically what the West is supposed to be about is about like principles and trying to get some principles and institutions that are, it's not that backyard haggling. That may be how the Middle East works.
Well,
I always question Turkey geographically is a great place to have an ally. Culturally, I'm not so sure. Well,
they're mishmash. They're all stolen nations there. Armenia, Greece, whatever. I've always said it's like the belly button that connects the African continent and Asia and Europe.
I'd rather have Finland than Estonia. Or the other than now from maybe not as a, and it has to do with, and people will say, oh, that's because racism. Bullshit. That has to do with values and their belief and remaining adherence to the principles of Western liberalism, pardon the word, but Western liberalism of freedom, of limited constitutional republics and things like this. At least they understand which way is up. They don't believe
I don't know. They're going to take him out, though. The Europeans are going to take him out. And the minute they do that, Putin's going to move in on Turkey. He's going to take that property. I'm telling you, he's going to take it, and he's not going to own it. He's going to distribute it. So that way he gains more people on his side. So when he takes down, once Erdogan's done, and you'll remember this because both of us will be around when this happens, you know, he's going to distribute it. He's going to be like, here you go, Armenia, here you go, Greece, and everyone's going to love him for doing that. And then it's game over. He's going to gain more allies like that. He's a smart guy, and he waited.
I'm looking around for a book called A Peace to End All Peace. Do you know that book?
I do know that book. I don't think I've read it anytime soon. It must have been a really long time ago.
It was in the early 90s. And it's funny because that expression, no, I'm sorry, a war, people have said of World War I after it was over, people called it the Great War, and they called it the war to end all wars. But this book was about the dismemberment of Turkey and the Ottoman Empire, and how it was dismembered into this current set of nation states by Sykes-Picot with Winston Churchill and his opposite, and I forget who.
Yeah, what is it? The thing of three, right? That they did in the 40s, where they like made them give away stuff like Mecca and all these.
No, it was before that. It was like
20s and 30s.
After World War I, like 19, 1930, 2021. And, you know, there's a story. Winston Churchill sat on he was Lord of the Admiralty or something, and he sat on a boat with his French counterpart, and they took the Ottoman Empire map, and they drew the lines, and they created, okay, here's Oman, here's this, here's Saudi Arabia, here's Yemen, and they just made up these countries after lunch. And there's a place out in the desert, Oman, Saudi Arabia, where the border takes like a 20-mile curve, and they call it Winston's Hiccup. They say he did this after lunch, and in the course of doing this, Winston, he had a belt.
He hiccuped and drew it. You know, the only concern that I have, though, is that Turkey has invested a lot of money into places like, you know, in the Horn of Africa, right? And like Somalia and stuff as well. So that's a little bit concerning for me. But, you know, we've got so much crap going on here. Like, I can't even talk about that because that's.
But before we do, let me make this point about Turkey. One could say, and it was somewhat the point of this author, that the current fractious Middle East was actually, compared to that, the Ottoman Empire may not have been so bad. It kept a lid on all of this stuff. But it was the way the European powers, French and Brits, divvied up the Middle East after World War I that made the peace, that made it the peace to end all peace. There would never be peace again after they settled the peace that way. It's a little joke. Fabulous book. And that's, anyway.
Yeah, no,
we might have been better off. What do you think of having Turkey? Turkey really, Erdogan wants to reconstitute the Ottoman Empire. Compared to what we have now, how do you feel about that?
Well, Turkey's not going to exist anymore. If you're asking me my opinion, right?
We're going to have a whole bunch of Armenians. And,
Armenians, Kurds. You know, that's going to benefit Putin too. Because the minute they take him out, if Putin goes down there and takes over and then redistributes the land back to those nations like Turkey, like to the Armenians, to the Kurds, to Greece, it's game over. They're now his allies. And if they can sequester the Aegean Sea, it's game over. We've got Haftar in Libya. I mean, Europe has no chance whatsoever. And they will freeze to death. And President Trump was right. And they will be at his mercy, and then they're going to just have to go in and take him out, and that's what's going to happen because people don't listen. Putin. The minute he does that, you know, the minute he comes down on Turkey after they take Erdogan out, they're going to have to go after him because they're going to freeze to death.
I'm losing your pronouns. They are going to have to go after who?
Europe is going to have to go after Putin. Yeah.
Well, he may be harder to take out than they imagine.
Yeah, well, he's got China behind him. They've got some good deals. So.
You know about Dugin, the guy whose daughter just died.
Yeah. See, I told everyone when Dugin comes back, and I said this years ago, when Dugin comes back into focus, that's when you know Erdogan's time's up. I literally said that.
His vision of the world is basically a Eurasian landmass of Russia and China primarily, forming a Eurasian counterweight to a decadent West. And they stand together as the West just self-implodes.
Yeah.
And with the right pressure. And, you know,
that's kind of Chinese too, because that's why the Chinese invested so much in the railway too, going through Turkey. You know, I mean, to have railways going into Africa through Turkey that China invested in, to get trains to go from China to London, that's a pretty big achievement. And that was their idea. And they were trying to pan it out. But enough about those politics, because right now those aren't directly affecting us at the moment. It's a hot mess, and we don't know how the people will respond there. I'm more concerned about what's going on at home here. Like right now, I am concerned about that. I'm concerned about the increased, weird statements that are being made by so many in the mainstream media, both left and right. And it's so much confusion,
like what?
I don't know. It's like half baked stories. It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like they're giving you little bits. You know how they were like tearing down Christina Bobb? Oh, we found her at OAN. Like, this woman is a juggernaut of an attorney. Like, why would CNN even do that?
They're flailing. They're like boxers when they get tired or immature, they end up flailing. That's I only knew about that because a friend sent me, somebody did a Rumble. No, we don't say anymore, a YouTube, as it were. One showed me a Rumble of somebody compared the achievements of Mr. Anderson Cooper versus the achievements of Christina Bobb.
Exactly. She's incredible, isn't she?
She's really incredible.
Yes.
I knew that she was a Marine officer, JAG Corps. I always thought she was top notch. I think
that's the only person I trust next to our president, aside from Dan Scavino. Like, I'd jump off a cliff before I think.
She's one of the many, many, many who does not know what the fuck to make of Patrick Byrne. I can assure you that. She's top shelf. We weren't able, because she was at One American News. That kind of complicated some things. But anyway, Trump made a great hire with that.
Tell me, how's the general doing? Is he doing good? I mean, I saw him on a show. He looked amazing. His hair looked good. I mean, he looked really confident, and I like that.
Well, we're working hard. We're under a lot of stress too. Sometimes egos pop up and they create little problems for people. So we spend a lot of our time unwinding what seem like
stupid things,
petty tiffs out in the world among people.
I know
that really we have to say, let's remember the mission, and unwind. So we both spend a lot of our days unwinding tiffs that after the 10th or 20th of them just start seeming petty, really know what the facts are.
Yeah.
And I try to remind people, hey, we've got to be all about the mission.
Well, you know how I feel about that. I'm pretty vocal on that. I just don't like Brian Cates. Okay. That's the one problem for me. That's me. You don't
listen. Look, I hear people say stuff about me. It's water off a duck's back. I don't even read. I don't care.
Yeah, well, the guy can't write anyway, so it doesn't matter. Besides,
do you remember what David Chappelle said? David Chappelle had this great thing, word of wisdom, something like, I got canceled on Twitter.
Oh yeah, when you didn't have a Twitter.
But Twitter, no, he said, I got canceled on Twitter, but Twitter's not a real place, so I didn't care, or something like that. Neither is Brian Cates' log or whatever. It's okay. It's a big world. I don't care what anybody. It's weird how little talk there is of me. I have to say, I know this seems it is, and I mean this just as an empirical observation, that given that like PBS calls me not Godfather, but the, I don't know, ringmaster or something of everything, and given some of these other articles, how not reluctant, how impossible it is for me to be on air. No one, you would think someone on air would want to interview me in the mainstream media. No one will have me. No one will interview me off air. It's really quite odd.
It's truth. People don't like the truth. They don't like candidness, and they don't like people saying, you know what, I hear you, I don't know about that. They want you to know everything, and they don't like truth because they don't believe the truth. And it's like, nobody cares what you believe. If it's true, it's true. End of story.
This is the truth movement. This is all about the truth movement. That's what I call it, the truth movement. It's the best name for us. I don't even like the name conservatives. And I have to say that sometimes people say stuff around me that I don't agree with them. And I just make allowances for different different groups. But I do try to encourage people to be, if you get a chance, watch the talk I did in Omaha this weekend. Because I walked people through the whole arc of destruction, Tori, which I know you know about. Four-step process which accompanies genocides everywhere. And it's polarization, tribalization, demonization, genocide. And where cultures go through a genocide, that's how it's done. And the polarization is something that makes everybody afraid. And when people are afraid, they start thinking from their amygdala. And they become fight or flight. And they look for social cues. They become herd animals. They're shut down their higher lobes. So it doesn't matter how many times you show that great aunt of yours the data on COVID, even if some of the CDC or the New England Journal of Medicine, she can't absorb it because she's locked out of she's in her amygdala. She's in a state of fright. So they got us there. The mass and everything with the tribalization, a visual symbol, something. The demonization was all this stuff. Really, we're less than a year from it. It's only 10 or 11 months ago that Justin Trudeau was saying stuff about how long are we going to put up with these people in our society. That's what we have to ask ourselves. How long we put up and they're often racist and misogynist, and these people who don't take vaccines. We have to wonder how long we put up with a real Nazi type talk. And Biden, weeks later, President Biden was doing his thing about be prepared for a winter of death and despair, and for the unvaccinated, death and misery, or whatever it was he said. That's only 9 months ago. Anyway.
So true. I'm popping over to Rumble to look at the comments there, because you have about 2,500 over there talking and asking questions.
How do I find you on Rumble?
I can send you the link in there, but there's like a 30-second delay because of the way Rumble is set up. I still haven't figured out how to do it on locals. I can send you the link I'm going to send it to you on Telegram on private message because it's easier. But there's a lot of questions there that are going, but thinking about all this stuff, Patrick, the PTSD that America is going through now with all of that, I agree with you. And, instead of us focusing, they've got us so confused and upset with everything that has been going on, from the elections to the, brazen theft, to, the masking, the mandates. My body, my choice only applies when you want to get rid of a baby, but it doesn't apply in everything else. So, that's a concern. Did you swap screens? Because you're black now. I'm assuming you did, because you're a black screen. But I agree. Let me see if there's any questions for anyone. Mass formation psychosis. So right.
I'm sorry. I switched to Tori.
Yeah, I'm right here.
I switched to look at your
Rumble
live stream on Rumble, and that's when everything went into Rumble. This
yeah, that's fine. I can switch back because I have it on mute on my browser so that I could see it.
There's 2,600 people watching live. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, that's because I've spread it on YouTube. If I turn off YouTube and Facebook, they'll all move to Rumble. I'm just on Rumble because, YouTube doesn't let me do my normal shows, but when I talk myself, they leave me alone. So I've learned that's okay. They won't ban me right away. They'll have someone sit there and listen to the whole thing and say, "Whoop, misinformation. Let's turn her off." So,
is it just a moment? Is it here yet? Dinner has arrived, and I'm keeping some guests. Indian food.
Right. Oh, my favorite. And now, of course, you got the same stuff, right? The potato stuff. Biryani is my favorite.
I'm a big fan. So you have some good cases cooking. We have some filing this week. I'm going up to talk to a sheriff up in Michigan. Going up to talk to a sheriff. You aren't anywhere up here in Michigan, right?
Well, yeah, we have people in Michigan that are filing. I am near Michigan. I could pop up whenever you go. You could text me. But
I'll be there at the end of the week. Are you going to be in?
No, I'm going to be. Yeah, I'm going to be on the East Coast this week.
Are you going to be at Trump's rally in Scranton?
I'm just going to be on the East Coast. So I'll text you but I'm going to do some stuff, and I'll be back in the Midwest after the 7th. because I have to campaign too. But I guess my campaign's going to be in court. Best campaign ever. Like, are you kidding? Like, I don't even have to pay for ads.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Hasta la próxima, Tori. And so let's all settle. Let's take a moment of peace and Christian peace. All you Christians, shake hands with everyone. And let's all remember the common enemy that's the 5-meter target, as they say, the 5-meter target.
Standing on top of us and laughing while we're fighting. Much love, Patrick. I'll see you soon. Love you too. All right, guys. So that was Patrick. I wanted to bring him on kind of just to have a conversation and kind of, everyone's working to get this done. And, obviously I'm going to keep, bashing Brian Cates because I really don't like him at all. But it's really important that we focus on the target and stop talking about what's important. I found it really interesting that the New York Times started trying to label Truth Social as QAnon, blah, blah, blah. Kind of warned about it when I said we're having too many anonymous accounts being verified. I mean, it doesn't matter. There is no QAnon. There's Q. Next time press is going to tell me I'm a QAnon follower, I'm going to be like, no, there's no QAnon. Why don't you just call me Q? Because we're all Q. How's that? And that way they can just paint the hat even stronger rather than make up terms and say things. I think that would be a lot more fun, right? Because we're in a moment in time where everything is so discombobulated and so confusing that people can't even see straight. They think that the person next to them is their enemy. And here's my 2 cents, right? My 2 cents is just consider that everyone is against you around you and just take it as a given. Kind of like, when you walk into a house and it smells like, I don't know, curry, for example, like that really gets to me, right? When I walk into a house and, my friends are Indian and I can smell curry everywhere, it's overwhelming. But after a time, you get desensitized. Try to desensitize yourself to the smell of, oh, that smells, this person isn't a good guy. Just pretend everyone's not a good guy. But look at what they're trying to do, regardless of how effective they are or efficient they are. Everyone is fighting in some shape or form. And, and like I said, I don't blame, Patrick, the general, and everybody else who, when I went down to DC and provided them the actual goods to fix this, I don't blame them that they took it with a grain of salt. I really did wish that they would have seen it as, just information, right? But, God works in really weird ways. He puts us through trials, and not only as individuals, but as a nation. And as a nation, we will succeed because no matter how hard evil comes at you, right? Good comes back 20 times harder. So it's really important that we remember that we remember that the eye is on the prize, and the prize is regaining our nation because it's completely out of control right now. We have them raiding a president, right? We've got them, doing these impeachments. And while everyone is like, oh my God, this is terrible, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is great. Last weekend was a blessing for me when I saw that SCOTUS came out with like enjoining no elections unless this is fixed. That was fantastic. That sets precedent for many, many things. And that's what's interesting. As someone that I just embraced the whole Cruella de Vil side. People that have met me are like, you're nothing like what people paint you. No, duh. That's the whole point. The media shapes, the image that they want to sell and, demonizes you, crazifies you or whatever, when the facts are facts and it's truth. And you can't change truth. I don't care how much you don't like it. It's just like, and you just have to kind of take it like, you know what? I really don't care what you have to say. It's all right because I'm going to win anyway. That's how good is, right? So it's pretty important that we all sit aside and really contemplate on just focusing on the goal. You guys, all the people in the United States of America right now, you don't need anyone to handhold you. You don't need anyone to show you what to do. You can do it yourself. We have people that in Portland filed their own lawsuit to get rid of these machines. South Carolina filed one. Oklahoma filed one. It's pretty wicked. Like, people are getting on top of it, and I am so proud of each and every one of them. Texas is like wrecking it. Like, when we started our groups on Telegram, and Ivan Rakelin was funny. He was like, Tori, the Telegram is just yours. We just see TS groups, funny, Truth Social, TS, right? Tori says, right? It just so happened, like that happenstance. But the Texans, like, they really got together. The Louisianans, they had like meetings with gavels and minutes. The people got together. And while people think that for some reason, oh, Tori, you control these groups. Nah, man, you don't control people. That's the problem. This is why we're in the position we are today. We don't allow people to self-govern. And that is a problem. We don't need to deploy them. We can pull call to actions on. And if they want to, they can, go ahead and do it. I know thousands of people from this weekend have been sending out emails and letters to their counties and to their Secretary of State to retain documents, for all these agreements that they did behind our backs with CISA and DHS and all these companies, kind of just quasi-federalizing our elections without our permission. And that's the thing. And, I did say Lone Star is going to be amazing, right? And these guys are just, I was stuck in Dallas coming back from Missouri, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be laying over there. There's no point in me sitting at the airport. So you guys want to go eat? And there was like a ton of them. Like, I was shocked. I started crying. I'm a very emotional person. Like, as I said, today I got 2 care boxes, and the big care box that had doggy treats had cigarettes in it. I was just crying because I was so grateful. Right. Because it's not so much seeing the faces, it's just being so proud to see Americans fighting for their country, not the cigarette part. I'm talking about seeing them. You'll see me. I'm always like, I try to stay away from wearing mascara when I'm meeting with people, because all I do is choke up, because this is exactly what our forefathers envisioned. People working together and striving for a common goal, to have control of their nation, to have control of their counties, to be able to educate their children, to be amazing people in society, right? And that is so incredible. So incredible. I can't explain it to you. For me, it's just seeing it moves me. And it sounds so soppy because I sound like such a bitch, right? I can't be soppy. I totally am. Totally am. And I'm proud of each and every one of you that make a phone call, that send that email, because you're creating record. Remember, we had all states in the United States, I think, except for one, that filed a writ of mandamus demanding these mandates to end. That's making history. It may not have done anything. We may all have failed. Well, mine was converted to federal suit because I got lucky. But, people, you have to understand, just because you failed doesn't mean you didn't win. Your children and their children will see that in the future and say, hey, I'm related to that dude and all those people that put the affidavits to get this writ of mandamus done. This is how you write history. You don't let them write it for you. You write it yourself. You take the pen and you're like, whatever. Do you guys think that I really wanted to go up against Frank LaRose? I know I'd be great for Secretary of State. Not only will I amplify business and ensure that it adheres to the Ohio and U.S. constitutions, right? But I will also make sure that elections are solid. I mean, I used to run coups in other nations. The choice of poison to take over a nation is elections. So if I know how to rig them, you definitely know I know how to not rig them, and that would be pen and paper. And I didn't want to do it. It's just that nobody steps up. A lot of people talk, but nobody steps up. If people actually saw from start to finish my attempt to change things, and I have to admit that the guy that just put in as a write-in for Governor Marshall, he was the one that was working with Blystone, who said, you should do Secretary of State. And I said, you know what? I think that's better than governor, because as Secretary of State, I could take care of the governor side and all the sides. And I know people are going to be like, no, that's only elections and business. Well, most of them have businesses, and a lot of them have shoddy businesses. I mean, how that whole householder thing work at the GOP? That was a good one, right? $60 million in the hole. So, I didn't want to do this. You think I want to be out there so people can keep trashing me and talking smack as if they know me? It's almost like, a lot of people don't like Patrick, don't like the general, don't like Linwood, and it's like, I don't care who you like. I like them. Okay. Do I trust every single person that I'm with? Probably not. But do I love them any less? Definitely not. And, if everyone chose to look at the good things in every single person around us, fighting or not fighting, we wouldn't be in this place right now. We would be in a way better place. And, history will be kind to us because we're writing it. And that's what's important. Our pens are writing it, right? We're doing it. We're mobilizing. And all we want is fair and free things. I had someone crawl up on my Instagram calling me homophobic because I posted that thing about McCain being in a sausage house. And I was like, dude, if you knew me, you wouldn't even say that and try to utter that it's real. Okay. Because I'm far from your isms. I think I told him, take your isms off my feed. Right. So many people just come out and say things, and it's a problem. It's a really it's a really big problem. And for me, my problem to overcome was, the fights that I had before, because I don't fight with babies. I don't fight with, losers. I mean, for fun, when I want to be mean because I'm angry, I'll probably pick at Kate's because he's a low-hanging fruit and, thirsty. But I pick fights with people that deserve a fight, right? I've been through hell and back. Nobody knows just how hard it's been. A few people know a lot more than other people, but it's important that we take control back of our local communities, our state, and make them fair, transparent, and exactly how we want them. I know a lot of people are like, "Can't it just be like it was before?" And when I hear that, I just can't stand to not respond and be like, "Are you serious? You want to go back to when you had no idea all this stuff was going on? You want to go back to what? Being dumb? This is it. We can't go back. There was no back. The back was a lie. Everything is an illusion. There is no going back. You go back, you're asking to be stupid and, not able to see things. That's not what we want. What we want is truth and transparency, and I say, and I'm going to keep saying this till I'm blue in the face. You're only free on paper, right? Everything else is BS. You're only free on paper. And just because you don't believe something does not make it any less true. And if people adhered to those two things and understood those two concepts, boy, the world would be an amazing place. And that's the problem. So anyway, let me just end today's chit chat with exactly what's going on. I want you guys to know that today, August 30th, 2022, according to statute, the Secretary of State of Ohio is supposed to certify all the people on the ballots because he's like, okay, these are the ones we're printing. Let's go, printer. So he sends them off. So today at 5 p.m., which was the end, I think it's 4 p.m. officially, but he did it at 5 p.m., probably with communication with the Attorney General's office, looking at lawsuit, has no idea what's coming. He sent me a notification saying that, he decided that, remember, they protested 65 on Monday, right before this kangaroo hearing that no rules, no statutes. It was just weird. I mean, my lawyer couldn't even believe what was happening. They dropped it down to 54 and then it went down to 18 and now it's only 17, which has me 7 short of being on the ballot, which is BS because there were other signatures that he didn't put on there. And, I have a funny feeling that Secretary LaRose may not have made it on the ballot either. Because if he disqualifies those, then we should disqualify his. Like, I'm coming guns a-blazing. And I really hope that the people of Ohio see this battle for what it is. And the fact that it was 17 out of every, and I had this conversation with the lawyers this morning. He was like, yeah, it's 19. We're putting 19 because, we have burned through everything on our campaign finance, right? Like, I will fight tooth and nail. He said, oh, we're going to put 19. I was like, dude, no, don't ask for 19. Just put 18. I don't like that number. Change it. Change it. But I was like, wouldn't it be funny if they just discount 17? And boy, that's what happened. That's exactly what LaRose did. Right on the dot. But he doesn't win. Because now he's going to say the law says she can't contest. Well, you go tell the Supreme Court of the United States how I'm not entitled to the rights and how you're disenfranchising. It might be a way that I could sue him for all this money too. Because, when I left that hearing room, I walked up to that little pansy, Biss, and I said, listen, you did all this, right? You better be well versed because in federal court, you're going to have to testify as to how you did it. You better brush up, baby. Because guess what? When you file a protest, it has to be that guy that does it on good faith, right? He didn't do any of it. The lawyers did. They actually admitted it during the hearing. And see, while people don't pay attention, they'll notice that the media lied and says, well, she tried to get on the GOP, but she didn't have enough signatures. Now, that's a lie, too. In fact, I had all of the signatures, every single one of them, right? But here's what they did. The Secretary of State's office instructed the Board of Elections, all of them, to discount all my petitions and disqualify them when by law, they're not allowed to do that. They're not. Their job is to just check signatures. They don't have the authority or any legal right to dismiss a whole petition. And yet, the only counties that sent signatures were the ones that said, yeah, that's not legal. We're not supposed to do that. They actually put that in writing. They actually, the 500 that they say I only got were from the counties that said, no, that's not right. That's against the law. Whereas the other ones, like the Democrat stronghold, Cuyahoga County, they didn't even look at the signatures. They just said, we disqualified the whole petition because the Secretary of State said we could. So he literally told them, make sure she's not on the ballot. And now he fights me again, right? Saying, well, not enough. But because he couldn't do it, he brought the GOP in. See, this is where I didn't even think they were so dumb. But I guess corruption is dumb and God is great. Because I expected on the first round that the GOP would have contested me, not LaRose. Because that would have been more common sense, where the GOP would have been like, hey, you're not registered as a Republican. Hey, you haven't voted in a primary. Hey, you can't run on the GOP ticket. Like that would have been a sound argument. And that would have been something that they could have brought up. And that would have shown everyone that unless you kiss the ring of the GOP, you're not allowed to run. But for some reason, they got their wires crossed and LaRose went first and then the GOP. And that's where they messed up, especially when they started tapping the AG. Like, Dave, why are you getting involved? Do you want to get dragged into this? Because, when lawsuits happen, there's discovery. And if there's any funny business of giving opinions and rocket docking my email to the top of your pile in the middle of the night, that's a big deal. I don't think people understand what a big deal that is when a simple email you send at night as a private citizen, not a lawyer, and, you make a claim. They have a bunch of lawyers in that office. Nicholas Eiper, right? He's in charge of this stuff. In 2021, I made an open records request. It's freaking 2022. He still hasn't responded. All I asked him was to give me the escrow account where LaRose has dedicated to give the source code. Why? Because that escrow account, that company that they use is actually the federal government. So when the federal government tells you everything is okay, but they can't guarantee it or some wishy-washy stuff, that's they own it. Those crypto trapdoors, who has those keys? That's why going after Dominion was a problem. Damn. Because it's your own unelected branch of government that controls who you put in office. That's the way it is. It's not some big, intricate thing. It's pretty simple. Occam's razor, guys. Simplest way is always the answer. And even in this raid, we had all this Nara. No, he had all those documents. He's the president. He can bless them and say they're whatever. They're declassified because I said so. He has that right. But it wasn't that. They're saying that it wasn't secure or making stuff up, while trying to recycle this Russia thing like they did in the Trump Tower. I mean, they didn't even get creative. They used a woman in the same network as Natalia that turned up with Kushner and Manafort and whatever, and they have the same PR agent. Like, come on, you can't even make it up. This is how dumb they are. And, if I wasn't busy running for office, working on this J6 stuff and getting it all together, man, that story would have been out days ago, but I haven't had the time. Like all these other people, they're supposed to be investigative journalists. What the hell are you investigating? Are you just waiting for some secret source to tell you what to say? What's the point of investigative journalism if you're not investigating anything? You look like idiots. Because here's me spread thin. Like, I really need a lot more clones. I need more clones. Definitely need more clones. Yeah. That I have to come out and just spell it out. And it's like, this is so dumb. So dumb. Anyway. On that note, I really want to play the Trump Train song again. You know what? I want to hear it at a rally. I think this is one of the most fun songs I have heard, you know, because we're all on the Trump train. Why? Left and right. Why? Because he speaks truth and people don't like truth. And we need a hell of a lot more than that, of what we have currently going. On that note, guys, God bless. Hope you enjoyed this nice chit chat. It was so good to see Patrick again. See you tomorrow.